Hello, the English speakers, and welcome to, if you guess linden or a lime, you're very close, but it doesn't have the balls. So no, this is a maple. It actually has one leaf left that you can trace it on. Today we'll talk about some spirituality. Can you learn something from old? That seems to fit right now. And can you see? We'll talk a little bit about Lucifer and stuff. But let's start by taking a big, deep breath. A little bit rainy now. If you don't watch this on Facebook, you might have seen some lazy otter that is taking a lift with a dog. That is like some sort of greyhound is riding on a sprinting turtle. You can also find videos of that on the internet. But yeah, very fast animals like to ride on something slow sometimes, it seems. You remember the 20 euro coin that Vatican was giving out, and this depicts some of these holy scenes that reflect some ritual, but they have changed it, so now the Holy Spirit comes in a form of a vaccine. So this is of course demonic. So I looked into Vera Linda, this mythical book found in Frisia, which was written in Old Frisian, which is a Germanic language, Western Germanic language that is very different now. It started to be written like 4,000 years ago. Some people say it's a fraud, but this one is warning about priests, and this is highly relevant. So it's talking about that people will go to the land of Jesus, not Jesus, but with a Y. It's unclear who this Jesus was, but that's what's one of many things he was called. And they say that the false priests, they will travel there and they will pretend to be his friend and pretend great mourning. That's one way to warn about it. And you have seen it now with Charlie Kirk. All these people who were really angry at Charlie Kirk because he didn't obey the Jewish mafia and didn't accept their money and doing their Satanism. So now they are pretending that they are the best friends ever out of Charlie Kirk. Just like Vera Linda was warning about 2,000 years ago or something close to that. Richard Werner, the guy behind the credit creation science, he was an Oxford Master of Philosophy in Economics. Someone else who studied at Oxford is Mark Carney, and Mark Carney was the central banker, chief or head of the Bank of England and Bank of Canada, and now he is the Prime Minister of Canada, this Mark Carney. He is going carnage on the Bible. Some parts of the Bible should be declared hateful and not be allowed to quote. So what kind of religion does this central banker have? We can guess. Richard Werner is asking that. And he also explained about the city of London, the non-part of UK. It's not a part of London, it's not a part of United Kingdom, and it's its own thing. It doesn't have any borders to UK, but has its own regulation when it comes to finances and undemocracy. It's a thing that is ruled by corporations. And their symbol is Gog and Magog, or their guardians. So who are these Gog and Magog? in the book of Revelations, they represent the forces of Satan. When Satan escape from hell and get released, then they are a representation of his legions. So, but Lucifer, that's the light bringer that brings, enlightenment and stuff. Well, do you see all this enlightenment in all of these central banking and their other big schemes and blackmail things? So Lucifer surely brings light, but it's not the kind of light that will enlighten you in a good way. It will become in the form of scientism, where you are presenting the science as you have to believe Fauci. And another great example right now is that the Democrats, they are presenting some Luciferian transparency when it comes to Epstein. So they present images of Trump, for example, together with a lot of presumably underage girls with their faces covered, and then they are just standing there. There is no, it's just an insinuation that something bad was happening that Trump himself was involved in. And then they just create a context with this very false and deceptive kind of transparency. Erika Kirk, she was on Fox News, and some people did some analysis of what she was saying. And there is a method that you can see how much psyop is this, and you get a score between 0 and 100. And this doesn't mean that it's a great psyop, quite the opposite sometimes, but it means that it's more and more obvious that it's a very dirty and evil kind of psyops with a lot of logical fallacies, avoiding of facts, and calling for believing authority and trying to quiet people and, well, emotionally manipulate them. She doesn't do a full score, but 80 out of 100. So this doesn't prove that she is bad or anything, but it proves that what she's doing is funneling evil, doing this kind of bad psyop. Everything is, of course, a psyop in some definition or not, but this is bad, evil kind of psyop that gets our stomachs turn bad just when we see Megyn Kelly turning into a total monster. I've linked to a 13 minutes video, but the video makes its point quite clear after just some minute hearing Megyn Kelly saying how she really want to see Tyler Robinson getting murdered for something he didn't do. She says that it's so obvious, no facts, just a big fat psyop, and she is going total monster, psyopy kind of evil. But Babylon Bee, they are actually getting better now, maybe. Kyle Mann, the editor-in-chief, and totally very Christian and not a Zionist at all. And he says that, so as a joke, they made that the leaders are now honoring Charlie Kirk's legacy by demanding everyone to stop asking questions, because that is what Charlie Kirk wanted. So that's a good joke. And of course it doesn't come from the Babylon Bee. It comes from Cowspiracist. And he's making fun of how disgusting lying Zionist jokes these Babylon Bee are doing. And actually, if you read the Talmud, it actually says that Charlie Kirk is boiling in his own feces in hell. No, not the Babylon Talmud or Babylonian Talmud. I mean the Tel Aviv Talmud that just came out a few months ago. That says that, according to sources. And Kyle Mann actually once he allowed an article by mistake, totally mistake, and he made fun of the Babylonian Talmud instead of the New Testament. And then of course he had to go down and talk to the bosses and excuse himself. So that happened according to my meme that you can find on my Substack, that is linked below. The New York Post and some other disgraced publication, but New York Post reposted it, I think. They had someone reading the lips of Tyler Robinson in the court, and they say that he bullshit, complete made up shit. And Tyler Robinson was like smirking a little bit about it and thinking that this is ridiculous. They were talking about that the car he was traveling in did a little bit of fender bending this time also. He also went to court another time and the same thing happened then. So that's a little joke. Well, it's just weird that you can smirk on. So that, according to Candace Owens. God Saad, Dave Rubin and Viva Frey. Viva Frey is the Canadian Jew. His original name is David Freiheit. These three people are sitting together and saying that probably Candace Owens was murdering Charlie Kirk and the Jews totally didn't do it, so we should trust them. That's the feeling one can get. And God Saad continues on X to spread hate against Islam and saying that, oh, look at all these terrorists that were supported by Zionists. They were all so-called Muslims, so therefore Muslim bad, and it wasn't that, I know the Jews, they don't invent very much, but they did invent Islamist terrorism. That was Netanyahu and his friends that invented that, and Mossad has been building on it forever. And then even more anti-Islam propaganda. Someone from the Muslim Brotherhood is bragging that soon they will have 50 members of Congress. 50. So that means that they totally, just like AIPAC, controls all of Congress. And of course they have 35 Epstein and Les Wexner and Netanyahu himself and a lot of assassins, and Pentagon is filled with Muslim Brotherhood people, just like they are filled with IDF. And I mean the Qatar flags that are everywhere in Congress, yeah. So that is something to be afraid of. And you notice on X, if you read the comments, there are almost none of what I just said. X is not only banning me, stealing my money, kicking me out from grok.com also, so I can't use the X login elsewhere. And I wonder what to do, if I should write a physical letter to X demanding them to answer my complaints and tell everything what is happening. And I need some advice and help there. But yeah, they continue to do all this. Laura Loomer, she's gaslighting as usual. She says that you're free to practice Christianity in Israel, while there are no churches or no synagogues in Qatar. Yeah, there are practicing Jews in Qatar, quite many of them, and they don't have any synagogue yet because they are not that many. So that's total bullshit. And of course there were a lot of Christians that couldn't practice because they got bombed to death, and Zionist terrorists were attacking their Christian villages on the West Bank and bombing them in Lebanon and Syria, and destroy their countries. But at least you can go to, generally, at least if you're a Zionist, obedient Christian, otherwise you will not get into Israel as a Christian. Do you think I will get a visa to Israel? Not a chance. And well, if I get one, I will get into a trap. So no, if you go there as a Zionist Christian, you will get spit on, because that's a nice tradition. And then you can upload a video and say, no, that's not true. You don't get spit on all the time. I only got spit on once. That was a good argument that Christian Zionists thought. And of course you see a lot of Christmas trees in Arabia too, especially in Syria and Lebanon, before those got taken out by the Zionist demonic forces that worship Lucifer with his enlightenment firebombs that they like to do. Also you can see, of course, in Qatar and in Dubai, you can see less tasteful Christmas, but also some tasteful Christmas decorations. But Andrew Torba reminds us that even if they do totally take over TikTok, CBS, and they are manipulating the algorithm on X, they are using AI to make us not notice anymore. We can't unnotice. That is not something that can happen. As I talked about Steve Bannon, I've linked to an article and video about him if you want to see more evidence of his working for Epstein and other things. The MAGA movement in USA is very disappointed, and that Trump is constantly trusting very bad people like Susie Wiles. No one trusts her except Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that says he does. But yeah, she is the former campaign manager of Netanyahu, and she is the one who is picking all the people handling. She's the chief of staff. And one suspicion is that she will set up Trump to be a total midterm loser, so that Trump will go and campaign for all the people that will lose. And in that way, he will get the blame for the total failure that they are now setting up. Candace Owens is doing that. Candace Owens is stopping all the release of the Epstein files. Candace Owens is starting new wars against Venezuela and stuff. Speaking about Venezuela, that person that is advising Trump says that Trump should listen to General Flynn. Don't do that, especially not when it comes to Venezuela. There is something that stinks there, to high heaven. This EU ID to take out Poland, Austria, Italy and Hungary. Trump says that no, that's not at all the Trump administration's plan, but it is definitely a plan. They did not make the plan up. Of course they did make the plan up in the way that they made the plan, and then they planted this fake story that is built on what they want to do. And they really want to especially look at the countries. Poland and then Austria. They want to separate Austria from Germany. Important, just to get a Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland kind of difference and split people up. And Hungary, you want to split Hungary from Slovakia, that has a huge minority of Hungarians. and you want to split up the Visegrad countries, that is Poland, Hungary, and Czechia and Slovakia. And of course you don't want anything like Croatia, etc. leaving. And what happens when France get National Front kind of president? Maybe Alternative für Deutschland gets a boost in Germany somehow, thanks to influence from, for example, Austria. And then the anti-EU blob, so that's not anti-globalist, anti-something in general, but a big thing that is at least fighting one tiny part of the big evil. That will be distracted if EU gets divided, and they always love to divide and rule. Scott Adams was talking a little bit more. I posted a link in yesterday's Substack, but I didn't talk about the update. So he did get his shit out, literally. So they solved that, and then he should have been radio treatment. What is it called? Getting a lot of radiation into his tumor, and that should release it so that he can start to have a movement under his under his waist. There. It suddenly stopped, so I missed it. What you might not have known is that Scott Adams did try Michael Maki's protocol with ivermectin and fembendazole and a lot of other things that he should also take, and it didn't work, and he tried it for 3 months and nothing got better. So William Makis did a response and say that, well, everything is wrong with Scott, and he's getting ignored and the wrong treatment, etc., which might also be true. But there is something not really looking good with this ivermectin, fembendazole. Might not actually be something that generally helps. Maybe it's very common that people have parasites or something else that these pharmaceuticals helps against. But there is not really many people talking about it. That I haven't heard one story where you have one person saying that, yeah, I took these drugs and then my cancer went from there to, well, there to, a better place. Something that might not look amazing, but it might be. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Minister of Agriculture, I assume. But anyway, they were talking about regenerative farming. So this is when you are not plowing, but you are using other tricks to, well, regenerate the earth in different way. There are a lot of techniques for this. But at least they talked about it, and they spent a few $1 million on it, which is, well, almost nothing. But just talking about it, I watched an interesting video from Minnesota, 1880. There was a Jonas Fletcher, and this Jonas Fletcher, he built a cabin perfectly according to the rules, but you have thin walls, you have just an iron stove, and that doesn't work during the winter. You need massive walls, and you need a masonry stove. He did some digging also and took the air into the cabin from underground, where it's way warmer during the winter. So you need a lot of thermal mass, and then you can just heat up your house and it will stay warm for days, even if you are not heating it all the time. So that's this wise stuff he learned from the old world, from Russia, from Scandinavia and Poland. But it's amazing that they had all this modern technology that was modern in 1870, and they couldn't build houses that could stand the cold that we have been able to do for millennia. But they forgot some knowledge. But when he started talking about it, and he was document it, and then it spread like a wildfire, but in a good and much nicer, warm way, and that building techniques were quickly adopted by his neighbors and then the entire northern Midwest. So just talking about regenerative farming might improve it a lot, and maybe communities and or local government and customers might help, but it will be the farmers that have to do it, and they have to see the benefits of the techniques. There are no viruses, Mike Yeadon is arguing, and I've linked to his best arguments about it. I still think it's useless arguing that something doesn't exist. You can't prove a negative, but he has to explain at least one disease. AIDS, we have some good ideas what that can come from, drugs, etc. But Ebola, for example, someone asked what happened to that. There were 2 outbreaks in Africa this year, but if you ask Grok, you are not. It's definitely from the virus. The virus is causing it, but there might be other reasons, sort of, and bioweapons speculations, totally conspiracy theorists. Why not something else? Maybe a parasite, maybe there was some toxins, and then you spread the toxin, and the toxin enable the so-called virus, whatever that is. Explain how to not get Ebola, and then you have one thing better for humanity. That's my advice, and arguing against that something doesn't exist. It's not helpful if if you're in a trench in Donbass, for example, and you see, there is an unidentified thing flying there. You should duck for cover. You should not argue that there are no aliens. It's probably a drone that tried to murder you, and you should figure that out. And with that analogy, see you again tomorrow.